So my name is Matt Wires. I'm from Allegiance Fire Rescue. I'm one of two apparatus trainers for the New England division. Me and another gentleman, we go around, we do all the in-service delivery training for all New England states, excluding Connecticut. That's another dealership. Technically, this is my part-time job, although I've been doing this for a few years now. I work full-time up in the city of Lewiston. I'm a lieutenant up there. I've been on the job for about 17 years. A little bit about my department, only because it's applicable to what I do here part-time. We staff 3 engines, 2 ladders, about 20 guys a shift, and we're an all-Pierce fleet, okay? We have been for a number of years, so pretty much every waking day that I'm alive, I'm staring at a Pierce fire truck, okay? So yippee for me, right? So hopefully that brings some knowledge and some credibility to what I'm going to talk to you guys here about today, and will allow me to better answer your questions. So one of the many things that Pierce and Allegiance does a really good job at is they assign an apparatus trainer to all builds, okay? So the best part of this program is going to be this forever network that you have with me. I have business cards. I can pass them out to whoever wants one. If you have any issues with your trucks, you have anything that doesn't resonate, a question that came up after I left, or a question maybe you didn't want to ask in front of your peers, shoot me a text, give me a call, okay? And that is extended forever, okay? And that doesn't just have to be this truck, it can be any of your trucks that are Pierces. If you guys have any questions, give me a call. If I don't know the answer, I'm not one to just, come up with an answer to make myself sound smart, because I'm really not that smart. I will find the answer for you, or I will get in touch with somebody that knows the answer, or I'll get you the contact to somebody that knows the answer, okay? So use me as a resource. You're truly not bothering me, okay? I want to help you guys. I want you guys to know your truck. I want you guys to like your trucks, okay? So anything comes up, give me a text, give me a call. Just remind me where you're from and who you are, so I can jog my memory a little bit. Okay? Questions? Okay, so I'm going to go over the truck with you guys today. Okay, it should take about an hour and a half, maybe, hour and a half. Okay, super informal. Okay, if you have any questions, just blurt them out at me. Okay, this is obviously going to be very different than what you guys are traditionally used to. Okay, so be a little bit of growing pains and some questions that I'm sure you guys are going to have. Okay, all right, so we'll start off here at the front of the truck. Sits on an international cab, again, not, traditionally what you guys are used to. You guys are used to the Aero XTs. So fluid checks and stuff like that, really, really easy to get to. Most everything on this truck, I'm just looking at your headlights real quick. Yeah, everything on this truck is 12-volt power, LED lights, right? From scene lights to headlights to blinkers to backup, lights to brake lights, all that stuff, okay? So 12-volt power. Certainly one of the many reasons why sort of the national trend is a lot of trucks now are not being equipped with onboard generators, because it's all LED 12-volt power. Okay, so first and foremost, your front discharges, okay, located right here. On this side of your front discharge, you have a 2-way valve to shut the discharge off. Okay, so if you guys want to circle around to me so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so right in there, you can isolate the shut off from here, and then there's another one back there where you have another low point. Okay, this is back here, guys. Looks like a quarter turn, like water valve. Okay, so this is just like a manual blowout. Okay, so this Petcott valve is just like what you would have on your air cans, right? So open that up and you'll get air out of your air cans to blow out all of the low points. And then in the winter time, if you want to isolate it, you can just isolate both valves, or open both valves up, blow it out with air, and then isolate them and shut them down so nothing releases up on you.
What was that again?
Yeah, if you notice right here, there's a Petcott valve. Yep. So that must just be like a manual blowout.
There's also a drain before.
Yeah.
Little brass quarter turn.
I'm assuming that's a blowout, unless it is just a drain.
Yeah, I think it's just a drain.
Oh, yeah, could be right then, isn't it?
Yeah, where is it? Right at that low point? Yeah, it could just be a drain.
Oh,
so that is actually just a drain. I thought it was a blowout.
Are there low points on this over here?
Not that I see. Nope. Not that I see.
Brandon said Brandon, is there one in the front?
Yeah, one right here on the driver's side.
Yeah, those connect. Those two connect.
Water line through.
Yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't blow up.
I don't either. Yeah, you just have to put it. Yeah, you just have to put a line to it. Yeah. So another one right there.
These are all your drains.
Okay, so first fluid check for you guys, located underneath the hood, obviously, located right there. That is your coolant. Okay, there's a minimum and a max reading. It's just a visual. Okay, should be a weekly check. All right. Okay, so behind both of these steps, you got to step down, just a latch. It'd help you get up there because it's about 7 miles up. Okay. Also, you have a backpack fill here for Indian tanks or whatever. New for you guys, this direct tank fill. Okay, so you can fill your tank directly through, right? You don't have to go through the pump. Okay, so new for you guys as well. Okay. These little brackets here in this compartment right here. You got a couple of pipes, okay, that just sit right in and just get locked into place through that hole, through that cotter pin, okay? Put both sections on and you can wrap hose, to, if you're doing like urban interface type stuff or whatever, right? You can just do that whole figure eight thing and wrap it and go.
Instead of repacking, just wrap it on there real quick and take off.
Exactly. Yep. So right now, these are in this compartment. I don't know if that's where they're gonna stay, but that's where they are right now. What am I missing up here? About it. What's that?
Hard suction compartment.
Hard suction compartment, yeah. Do you guys actually have the hard suction?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's been happening for a while. Yeah. What's in this one?
There's 3/8.
More hard suction. Yeah. Okay.
3/4 on each side.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's talk about your wheels real quick. So this truck is a four-wheel drive, right? I'll show you where all the buttons are inside when we get to it. But I did talk to you a little bit about manually checking tire pressures, okay? So typically these trucks come with what are called air guards, right? You guys don't run them. You choose not to run them. That's fine. Just remember that when you are manually checking tire pressures, that you are trying to get that valve stem above the 3 and 9 o'clock position, 12 o'clock being the best, 6 o'clock being the worst, right? When you're manually checking tire pressures. Reason for that is these wheels are no longer balanced with wheel weights, they're balanced with counterbalancing beads, okay? So when the tire is not in motion, all of those counterbalancing beads settle to the bottom of the tire, obviously. And if you're manually checking tire pressures in the 6 o'clock position, you can run risk of getting some of those counterbalancing beads dislodged and stuck up in the valve stem, okay? And I can actually contest that happens at 2 of the companies where I work before we started running the air guards, okay? So again, not the end of the world if you choose to not run the air guards, it's totally up to you, but just remember that when you are checking tire pressures, to try to get that valve stem as high up as possible, okay? Anything here in north is fine. Okay. This truck, you got a 70-gallon fuel tank, okay? Diesel fuel, right? Okay. And a 4.5-gallon DEF tank, okay? I'm not here to insult your intelligence. This is just something that I have to talk about because the mistake happens. When fueling the truck, we always want to fill the truck with the truck not running, right? Diesel fuel goes here, DEF fluid goes there, okay? If for whatever reason you are having a really bad day and you put the wrong fluid in the wrong tank, you've got to own it, okay? There's going to be no hiding that mistake, right? So if you put 3/4 of a gallon of DEF fluid in a 70-gallon diesel tank and you think it's not going to mess anything up, you are wildly wrong, okay? As soon as you start this thing up, it's going to be screwed, okay? So if you're having a bad day, you put the wrong fluid in the wrong tank, you got to own it, okay? We can get this truck towed away, you get the tanks dropped, the lines bled out, and the appropriate fluids put back in the appropriate tanks. If we try to drive away with it or we're fueling the truck when the truck is running, that is going to be a catastrophic error, okay? it's going to be a Dear Chief letter, and you are going to get a nickname, so just embrace it, if you're even still here. Okay. How do you guys, or do you guys, or is it just a mechanic that puts DEF fluid in the tank? You do, Ken. How do you do it here? 2.5 gallon jugs?
We have a 55 gallon drum.
Perfect. So recommended if you have it at the pumps or you have it in 55 gallon tanks to fill your DEF tank when you get to 3/4. Okay, so put a gallon in. Okay. Not the end of the world if you go to half a tank. There's just some of the information that we're getting from the shop is the sloshing around of a DEF tank is creating bubbles. Those optic sensors that are looking for DEF quality will get thrown. You'll get a check engine light and it's messing up DEF headers. I'm sure you guys have sent one of your trucks, if not more, to the shop to get a new DEF header put in. Okay, so right now, until they can fix that problem, they're just recommending that we keep our DEF tanks as full as possible.
Typically on truck check day, which is Wednesday, that's when they top off.
Just top it off.
But if they need it during the week, they just come down and they fuel up.
Yep. Biggest thing with these new emission diesel motors, right? Run the truck in high idle all the time. And we'll talk about that more in depth here. And good quality DEF fluid. Okay, don't put expired or crappy DEF fluid in. Okay. Good. All right. To the front of the truck. Few more fluid checks. Again, with this truck, it's super easy to get to. Latch here, latch on the other side. If you're tall enough to pull, which I am certainly not, there's a grab handle up front here so you can pull the hood up. Him and I, we have to pull up here, okay? So hood comes up, all right? Power steering, okay? This cap's on a dipstick as well. Windshield wiper fluid, oil fill, engine oil dipstick, and trans level dipstick. This trans level dipstick's gonna have two readings. One's gonna say hot, one's gonna say cold. Just read it appropriately. Okay? That's pretty much it on fluid checks. Questions on that? Okay. In the loose equipment box that Pierce provides you comes this miscellaneous nuts and bolts, okay? When you guys mount your tools and equipment, they recommend that you use this stuff, okay? This is all grade A stainless steel, and many of them are already pre-Loctited, okay? A mistake a lot of departments make is they will go to the local hardware store and they'll buy self-tappers because it's easy. All you do is just wind the self-tapper into the sheet metal and you're done. Problem with that is that self-tapping part of the screw a lot of times is the only part that bites onto the sheet metal. Truck bouncing down the road, it snaps, and now you have to find another location. So they recommend drill, tap, and use the equipment that they provide. Okay. Thank you. Did that too so I don't lose it. Okay, questions so far? All right, every one of Pierce's trucks comes with this vehicle information sticker, okay? Every one of your trucks has it, okay? This serves as a quick fact sheet, okay? So you can get some information like GVW, your job number, paint codes, engine size, which this is a Cummins L9, transmission type, Allison 3000, EBS, fluid capacities, blah, 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 okay? Most important part of the vehicle information sticker to remember is that's where you obtain your 5-digit job number, okay? Every one of these trucks has a 5-digit job number. It's like our social security number, okay? So if the mechanic, calls down to the firehouse and asks the lieutenant to get a job number off the truck, the lieutenant's gonna ask one of the firefighters to go grab that for him, right? Open up the door, look for the job number. Okay, right here, 36783. So when the mechanic calls Allegiance, or if he has to call factory direct, right, he can just provide them that number and they can populate whatever they need quickly. All right. GVW. So you got a GVW rating here, and then up there on that yellow sticker, you're gonna have the height of the vehicle, the length of the vehicle, and the GVW. Do not mistake GVW with what the truck actually weighs. So many people make that mistake. Okay, GVW is what the truck can weigh based off of manufacturer's recommendation axle sizes. Okay. So it's a really good idea. Once this truck is fully equipped, all the water's on it, all the hoses on it, all the tools are on it, go get the truck weighed. Okay? That way you actually know what the truck weighs. The other thing that you're going to want to do is get individual axle weights. So get your front axle weighed, and then your rear axle weighed. Okay? Then go to Michelin or Goodyear, or go to the back of the owner's manual and refer to the tire inflation chart. There's a tire inflation chart that will tell you, based off of what axle weight you have, how much air to put in the tire. Okay? Without knowing what the individual axles weigh, you're just guessing on how much air goes into the tire, right? And now the truck may or may not handle the way that it should, and the tires may or may not wear the way that they should. Next thing I'm going to talk about is one of the most important things I'm going to talk about in the entire class, okay? And again, this applies to all of your other Pierces, so if you're not doing this with all of your other Pierces, you should start doing it today, okay? So how we start and stop the truck is extremely important. There's something called the prove-out sequence that needs to occur before firing the truck up. And I see some guys nodding their heads, so I feel like you guys already know what I'm going to say, so that's good, okay? So on this truck, the master switch is located right here, okay? We turn the master on, and then we cycle the ignition on. Okay? Now what's going to happen is all the gauges are going to rise, they're going to fall. Relays that go back and forth. And if you got an auto loop system on one of your other trucks, you're going to hear the auto loop, the fire and preserve fittings. There's a bunch of stuff that's occurring in literally 4 to 5 seconds. Okay? By rushing the prove-out sequence, that means that you grab a hold of the start button, or on this truck, you turn the key, right, and you fire it up before those gauges have returned back to their appropriate positions, okay? Any electrical gremlin that could occur can occur in that one particular runtime, okay? And I've seen with my own eyes a slew of issues, okay? Truck not start, truck not come out of first gear, truck not come out of second gear, pump control modules not work, transmissions shifting really hard, aerial collision avoidance not work, door jar alarms going off for no reason, like the gamut, right? If any of those nuisances are occurring, right, stop the truck, turn the truck on again, ensuring that the prove-out sequence has been followed. If that electrical gremlin goes away, it's highly likely that somebody rushed the prove-out, okay? Biggest problem with the prove-out sequence is you could rush it 1,000 times and never have an issue, and then you're like, oh yeah, that guy from Pierce just gave me a bump scoop, okay? But the caveat is, after time 1,000, the next 10 times, you can have an issue every single time.
No, we've seen it before, and they train
Good.
Yeah,
Then you turn the battery on when the radio powers up, then you hit the ignition. That's why I train all the guys that way. You go through that whole cycle, and by the time you get in the truck, then you can start it up.
no, we've seen it time and time again, where one of the computers didn't get a chance to talk to each other, and it screwed up the sequence, and you may not get like the front light or something weird like that.
Yeah. Our downtown ladder is a 105. It's a 2007. Pretty much every single time you rush the prove-out, she won't come out of first gear. That's like every time. Which that's not very common, right? Like you can get away with it sometimes, but I'm just telling you not to, right? So like you were saying, create good habits. And the best habit that I've been able to find, that I tell my guys and I tell everyone I teach working for Pierce, is do something that distracts yourself, right? So for instance, master, ignition, then get in the truck, right? Or master, ignition, then get your bunker pants on. Or master, ignition, then go open up the overhead door, right? Do something that distracts yourself so you're not sitting in the cab of the truck, waiting for everybody to get in, belted up, ready to rip, and now you start that prove-out sequence, okay? If you're going to what sounds like a good call, 4 to 5 seconds is going to be like watching paint dry, right? So do something to distract yourself. Stopping the truck, equally as important. We never stop the truck utilizing the master. we always stop the truck utilizing the ignition. So for this truck, the key, for those trucks, the button, right? And then we cycle the master power off. If we try to stop a running motor with the master switch, you'll deadhead that alternator 400 amps, okay? An alternator for a new truck now has got to be close to 7, 8, 9, 10 grand, okay? So we don't want to do that. And it's probably like a month out.
Question for you.
Yeah.
In the past, we're trained on all our Pierces that once you shut the truck off, leave the battery on for 30 seconds to a minute to let the DEF pump discharge the pressure before you shut it off.
You don't have to do that.
On this one,
You don't have to do it with any of them.
that's what we were told.
Yeah.
You can hear it purge when you shut the ignition off.
Yeah, you can actually hear. You can actually hear.
As soon as you cycle the ignition, you hear that, or that, whatever, I can't make the noise, right? But that surge, it manually purges itself.
All right.
Yeah.
So we got bundled information.
Ask me that question later.
Okay.
Okay. Questions on the ignition? Okay. Let me just make sure this truck has what I'm going to talk about next, which it should. Have you guys seen a load manager on this thing?
I haven't seen a load.
I don't not seen one. What about your high idle? You gotta have a high idle switch. Where the hell is it?
Yeah, we do. I think it's,
Oh, is it down here?
no, it's right in there.
No, right here. Okay. So there's no load manager?
No, the biggest question we got for you is this truly pumping oil?
Yes. Should be.
If you don't have a pump oil, so we need a
Yep. Okay. So I have not seen a load manager, so I don't have to talk about that. But you have a high idle switch. Okay. So if you read Pierce's new bulletin that came out, I don't know, 3 years ago, I'll say maybe. The new bulletin reads, when the truck is running, right, not in aerial master, aerial PTO, not in pump, all that stuff, right, it's just running, right, you are to initiate a high idle immediately. The old bulletin used to say after 5 minutes of runtime. Again, the new bulletin says all the time. So, pre-emission diesel motors, they like to idle, right, just all day long, okay? Post-emission diesel motors like to idle and idle hot, okay? I think it was 2017, Cummins released 3 new motors, the L9, which is what this truck has in many different horsepower versions, the X12 and the X15. Those 3 motors were designed purposefully for emission standards. They purposefully run hotter, okay? So if you have ever questioned on some of these new Cummins why you go through so much coolant, it's because the motor is running so hot that it's increasing the viscosity of the coolant, and the coolant is finding its way through EGR valves, DOC valves, pistons, it's leaking its way out, and it's just sort of evaporating, okay? So the new Cummins motors, they do a really good job cleaning themselves out. So when this truck is running, you want to initiate a high idle, so you are helping with the emission component of the diesel motor, okay? So equipped on this truck is a DEF filter, okay? That DEF filter is essentially a honeycomb filter that's capturing diesel particulates, okay? Through the regeneration process, it takes those particulates, it burns them out through exhaust temperature, and it turns particulates into ash, and it moves it out the exhaust pipe. So if you think of that particulate filter like a chimney, right, in your own personal home, if you're running a hot fire and the damper's wide open in the firebox, you're going to have less creosote build up in your chimney liner, and you're going to burn some creosote out of your chimney liner. Versus having a warming fire, the damper shut on the firebox, now you're going to have more creosote build up, and you're going to burn out less creosote in the chimney liner. Think of it that way when you're thinking about running the idle switch on this truck. If we can get RPMs up, we're going to get engine temp up, which means we're going to get exhaust temp up, which means we're going to collect less particulates in the filter, and we're going to burn particulates out of the filter, which is going to mean less parts regens, not really a thing with this motor, right? But if you guys are running some DD13s or some Series 60 Detroits that have the DEF filter strapped to it, or you don't one of the older Cummins, the ISXs that take a lot of parts regens, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? It's just kind of a nuisance, kind of a pain in the ass, and you're not going to lose that performance, okay? That's the reason why idle switch is so important, and really the reason why it exists is because it puts power down to the alternator, okay? So each engine has a RPM threshold. This is probably set at 1,000. All of your engines are set at 1,000. Your ladders are set between 1250 and 1350. I've seen both, right? So bigger truck, more things to be expected to power. They increase the RPM threshold to put more power down to the alternator to make sure that things are charging and running the way that they're supposed to run. Really, again, the reason why a idle switch exists, okay? So cliff notes on that, when the truck is not in pump gear and it's running, initiate a idle, okay? Whether that's 15 seconds out onto the apron, or you're at the grocery store, or you're at a medical, or you're at a bot salon, whatever, right? If this truck's not in pump gear and it's parked, hit the idle switch. The idle switch is on a rocker switch, right? So when you want to disengage it, either shut it off, or if you push the parking brake in, it's interlocked, it'll take itself out. Just know that you have to reinitiate another idle. You can't just pull the Matzy and expect it to come back on again. Okay? Questions on that? We're gonna move around the other side of the truck. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. So, speaking of regeneration, so with the new diesel motors, there's 4 different types of regeneration, right? Passive, active, parked, and forced, okay? Passive regeneration occurs when the truck is just running, right? Idling in idle, but it's parked, it's not moving, okay? If you were to fire this truck up and you let it, sit here and run for a few minutes, you're probably going to notice, again, depending how much soot is in the grams of soot in that diesel particulate filter, but you'll notice your RPMs go from 730, 740, 750, which is idle on these, to about 850, 900, okay, within a few minutes. A lot of people think that that's low voltage, which is why it's ramping up. It could be, but it's unlikely to be, okay? The more likely thing would be that the truck is entering into passive regeneration. So again, these new motors are smart enough to know that, okay, you're not putting me in idle, right? I'm not getting a lot of RPMs. I'm going to increase RPMs to get my engine temp up so I can not have to be put into park to regen as much, okay? So it's passive regen. Active regeneration occurs very similarly to passive, except the only difference is you have to have 5 miles an hour or greater on the speedometer, okay? And if you go on pierceparts.com, right? So go to pierceparts.com. Usually there's a sticker on the door. It may not be on the internationals. So pierceparts.com, log in as a guest, okay? You'll get every manual Pierce has ever put out, okay? And there's a regeneration tutorial for Detroits and for the Cummins, okay? So if you want to review any of this stuff, you can go right on there and you can learn about it, okay? So after regeneration, 5 miles an hour on the speedometer. You have to have sustained or constant RPMs. Engine temp has to be at a certain threshold. Grams of soot in the diesel particulate filter have to be at a certain threshold, right? Once those things occur, it's going to enter into active regeneration, which means you're going to have your dosing valve fire, okay? So what a dosing valve is just another fuel injector on the back side of the turbo where the exhaust temperatures get the hottest. That diesel fuel, that combustible, gets the exhaust temperature superheated, anywhere between 13 to 1600 degree Fahrenheit. That moves through that diesel particulate filter and really cleans itself out. So think of active regeneration as driving down the street, right? And parked regeneration, the same. Parked regeneration is nothing but active regeneration. The only difference is you're sitting on the apron parked and the truck's not moving, okay? So that's active regeneration. Parked regeneration occurs when, however you've been driving the truck, has not sufficed cleaning out that diesel particulate filter, and now you're starting to impede the performance of the truck, okay? With these new Cummins, the chances or the likelihood of you guys having to put this truck in parked regen is slim to none, okay? I don't know anybody that's had to in any of those new Cummins. We have a couple of them, and we never have to put them in parked regen. We have a couple of Detroit DD13s is a busy truck that runs really short calls, and it's a DD13. We're doing parked regens every 75 to 100 miles. It's crazy, okay? So anyways, to put the truck in parked regen, you have to have the parked regen light come on the dash. Those parked regen lights are the same icons for all diesel motors, whether it's a Pierce, an E1, a Seagrave, an International, a Kenwood, Kenworth, right? They're all the same, okay? So if you see an amber light come on the dash that looks like a tire track with a plume of smoke, that means the truck has to be put into parked regen, okay? Don't confuse that light with your Hess light. A Hess light is a plume of smoke with a temperature gauge. That is informing you that you have exhaust temperatures equal to or greater than 977 degree Fahrenheit coming out of the exhaust pipe. You ought to do nothing with that light except just be informed.
Is that passively regenerating at that point?
Probably not. Probably not. Passive regeneration doesn't typically set off the Hess light because the dosing valve's not firing.
We see that quite a bit in college, just high exhaust temperature.
High exhaust temperature, yeah.
Is that good or bad?
Good. That's a good thing, yeah.
We see it quite a bit on our truck.
You driving down the road, you may see the light come on, come off, come on, come off. Yep, oh, perfect. Yeah, exactly.
We keep these on the truck. So
Perfect, yeah. So that first light right there, that's your Hess light.
Yeah, we see that quite a bit.
Yep. That right there is your parked regen light. Good. Okay? So if you do see this light, you would want to take the truck, and this applies for all of your trucks, take the truck out onto the apron, pull the brake, hit neutral, and press, I'll show you here in a minute, press your DPF regen button. When you do that, the truck's going to ramp up to 1040 RPMs. So do that for a little bit until the engine temp gets up. Then it's going to fire the dosing valve. It'll do that for about 20 to 30 minutes, or whatever the time frame is when you caught the light. Okay, so about 25, 30 minutes. When the truck returns back to idle, neutral, party brake back in, pull it back into quarters. Don't strap your Plymouth vent to it. Okay.
So just like all the other trucks, this truck will have that on there for quick driver's reference, so you don't get confused, because a lot of these pictures look alike.
They do.
So that's why we have them on all the trucks, just for a quick reference.
So this light right here, 2 to 6 hours of normal operation, and that is the motor running. I've had, well, I can't go to bed because that maybe, no, it's 6 hours of the truck running, okay? Then you're gonna get the same light flashing. That's 1 to 2 hours. Then you're gonna get flashing light, check engine light. Then you're gonna get flashing light, flashing check engine light. Then you're gonna get flashing light, stop engine light. At that point, just get the memo out and write the chief a letter. If you're in parked regen, the truck does not have to be out of service, okay? Nothing I tell you should ever deter, right, any of your SOPs, SOGs, or general orders. I'm just giving you the facts. You still follow your own policy, but I'm telling you that you do not have to go out of service if you do a parked regen. If the truck is regenerating parked, simply land your butt in the seat, push the parking brake in. When you push the parking brake in, it's interlocked. It'll bump it out of parked regen. When you drive down the road, you're gonna enter very quickly into active regen because you're right in that sweet spot, everything's hot, and you're just gonna transform from one to the other. There was some bad information going around for a number of years that you stop a parked regen utilizing your regen inhibit switch. That is a very bad idea, okay? Let's say, for instance, this truck or any of your trucks, right, was doing a parked regen, you inhibited the regen, you went to a mutual aid town that's 15 minutes down the highway, you were at a fire for 5 hours, you traveled that 15 minutes down the highway, that's 5.5 hours, if my math is correct, of the emission of that truck being locked up, and your already full diesel particulate filter had just got fuller. Where if you just would push the parking brake in, hit drive, that 15-minute drive to that mutual aid town, truck would have went from parked to active regen, it would have cleaned itself out, and you would have been good to go. Okay? You do a regen inhibit on a parked regen 3 consecutive times on one particular run, right? You'll lock up the emissions. You'll have to go get the truck, bring the truck to the garage and have the mechanic plug Cummins software to do a forced regen. Okay? Last type of regeneration is just that, forced regen. We can't do that. Only the mechanic with Cummins or Detroit software, whatever you have, plugs plugs into the ECU and does a forced regen. That typically occurs when parked regen lights are ignored, overuse of regen inhibit switches, or you just have some sort of emission problem. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. This truck does come equipped with a regen inhibit switch. Okay. That switch really should be used as infrequently as possible. Okay. This particular truck is a PTO pump. Okay, which means it's not a direct driveline pump, so it does not use the same drive shaft that spins the rear tires. It has a PTO shaft, okay, that has a spline that is splined, that lines up with a clutch. When you hit the water pump button, the clutch grabs that spline of the PTO shaft and it spins the eye of the impeller. Okay, just that simple. So because of that, this truck, when it's pumping, will not see speed on the speedometer. Right? So when this truck is pumping, it will never enter into active regeneration because the parameters will not allow that to occur. So this particular truck, running your regen inhibit switch was almost a non-factor, almost something that you're never going to have to do. Okay? Some of your other engines, is that a straight stick? Yeah. Some of your other engines that are direct driveline pumps, if you're pumping a fire, right, you're going to have speed on your speedometer, right? As you increase that pump control module, that speed goes up. If your exhaust pipe is super close to something you don't want to burn down, that's when I would inhibit a regen. If that exhaust pipe is nowhere near anything that you're going to burn down, leave it alone and let it do its thing. Okay? So just like carte blanche, policy or blanket statement that every time the truck's in pump gear, initiate a regen inhibit is actually causing troubles for customers. Okay.
2 questions.
Yep. Make them easy.
So does that mean this has pump and roll on it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so next question is, if you're not actively rolling, should you be in high idle when you're in pump?
Say that again.
If it's a PTO that runs the pump and not the drive line?
Yep.
So does that mean you should have it in high idle when you're pumping?
No, because when you engage the water pump, there's an interlock there, right? That when the transmission is in neutral, okay, the power will leave your throttle pedal and enter into your pump control module. When the truck is put into drive, that's when you're doing the sort of the pump and roll thing, right?
So you have to engage it in drive to do pump and roll, you have to engage it in neutral, and then what do you got?
So it doesn't matter so long as your RPMs are under 1,000. Yeah.
Will the pump and roll on all the districts flat?
Yes. Okay. So and we can check it, right? So the pump and roll stuff that I'm very familiar with is on the pumps, the Pierce Ultimate configurations. I've done a few of these, and we can check to make sure that it works. But there should be an interlock in there, right? So one of the things that people freak out about with PTO pumps is old habits die hard, right? So if you pull the brake, hit neutral, engage the pump, and then put it into drive, because that's what you used to do. I come over here and I start spinning the throttle. Eventually the RPMs are going to overpower the brakes and see you later, right? That should not occur, and we will check it if you would like, just to make sure. But the parking brake being pulled is the interlock, right? So if I get the parking brake pulled, water pump on, and I hit drive, I should come over here and see this pump control module dead. Nothing happening. So if that occurs, you should be like, oh, frig, I forgot to put the truck back into neutral.
So when we spec the truck, we have them to remove the pump and roll because up where the tank overflow is up top there was some sort of like jockey pump up there, remember that? And they deleted that. What was that up there? I'm just curious.
Couldn't tell you.
So I actually put it in pump, and I actually did put it in drive, but the OK to drive light did not come on. So I don't know if we truly have it, but it's just weird that we have the primer pump up there, and we have the pressure gauge up there. So
So that is an NFPA standard. You have to have that. The truck has the capability of pumping and rolling. You have to have pressure gauge and water gauge. Your electric pump, your electric primer, I don't know why that's in there.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with the build and the spec of your truck. I don't know why things are the way that they are. I'm not privy to any of that information, so I don't know.
Yeah, the
that's the best way to figure it out, right? We can try it, make sure the interlock works, see if the thing even does pump and roll. I can tell you that I don't remember where I was, but it was in Mass somewheres. The captain in charge of apparatus said that that feature was disabled. They wanted it disabled, and I thought to myself, how is that possible? We do it on the pump and roll thing. So, and be honest with me, right? Because this is the only way that we learn. Do you understand why this truck will pump and roll, and your engine 2 won't? Okay, because the drive shaft is never interrupted, right? On a direct driveline pump, you have one flywheel. Your air actuator moves that flywheel right from road to neutral, pump roll to neutral. The drive shaft is never interrupted. So when departments buy pumps, it's always a thing, right? Because guys are always like, what the hell have we ever done a pump and roll? This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. You're probably never, ever done a pump and roll, right? This truck may, right? If it's doing like wildland stuff, right? But, you know, your downtown engine, probably never done a pump and roll, but if you spec a puck pump, it's a rear engine power takeoff pump, right? And the reason why the pucks are so popular is because you got 15 to 2,000 rated pump capacity from a traditional 42-inch pump housing down to a 24-inch pump housing, right? So you save space. So people that want quints, people that want rescue pumpers, that's a very popular avenue for them to pursue. Okay? So we do it on the pump and roll. Okay. Buttons inside the cab. So you guys are gonna have to come up here. I don't have cooties. I'm not gonna like. We have none of these where I work. So sometimes it's just figuring stuff out. Okay. So headlights over here. I mean, it's essentially like a pickup truck. You guys can probably figure it out, right? So headlights here, right? Windshield wiper, fluid, windshield wiper control, blinker, high beams, right? Pretty standard. You guys have cruise control again because this is it's a commercial cab, right? Master down there, as I already talked about. Ignition key right here, right? So auxiliary off, ignition power on, start. Okay. Actually. All right. Nope, you're fine. Okay. This is very different. Okay. This is the shifter. Okay.
Limit your fire channel 1.
Rock and roll. Okay. So neutral position, right? Drive, reverse.
So you can do that one more time?
Did you say you're rolling it? Or?
Yep. So you pull in.
You gotta push in.
Push in. Drive. Reverse. It's locked out just a brake on.
Okay.
Okay. So that's gonna be something to get used to. That's very different. Okay.
Can you do that one more time? I just stepped up here.
Yep, so there's like a little lock collar on there. Okay. Push the lock collar in, drive, neutral, reverse.
Like the old.
Yeah.
Where you gotta inhibit.
So if you think about it, right, obviously the neutral position is just that. Drive, if you think about it, it's kind of messed up, right, because typically it's park, neutral, reverse drive. The way that I think of it is if you push up, you're going forward, push back, you're going backwards. It's just naturally your mind's like, oh, this must be reverse, this must be drive, right? So that's going to be hard to get used to. Okay.
Does this have a speed governor? Like the other?
Yes.
62 or 63.
Take that baby off.
I think that's NFPA. That's
I don't need that.
Yeah.
We're going
The old restricted
to 75. This says 75.
Dragon. Oh, no way. Sweet. 4 horses. That's a whole lot faster than we can normally go.
Yeah, this is 75.
Oh, that is... Maybe we should put one on.
That says 75, but that don't make sense because I think NFPA states the fastest you can go is 68. Well,
most of our trucks
We're
like
gonna find that
62,
out.
63.
one way to find out. Okay, so that's that. Over here is how you select through information on your dash. Okay, so alerts. Okay.
Okay, setup. You guys can just go through that, play with that. Okay. Exhaust brake. That's just that. Your exhaust brake. Don't forget, if you're using your exhaust brake in inclement weather, right? Shut it off. So snow, sleet, ice, rain. Shut it off when you can return to driving like you normally do. You can turn it back on again. Okay. Trans mode. Perfectly honest, I'm not sure what that does. I have no idea. My guess is it's just like the mode button on a traditional electric Allison transmission selector. Okay, so that's my best guess. Okay,
So it takes it from being automatic to being able to shift from like 2, 3.
Nope. So, well, no, I don't believe so. So what I believe that is just like the mode button on your regular ones, right? You know, you have the mode button, and 9 times out of 10, those modes are disabled. Now, where this is a commercial cab, maybe it's not, right? So, when I have seen customers enable it, it's typically on tankers that are governed like at 55 miles an hour. You hit the mode button and now you can go to 68 miles an hour for service. So like you're bringing the truck to the shop and you're going down the highway.
When they're empty.
Right. Okay. I also have seen the mode button. This is typically on older transmissions. Either put you in or take you out of overdrive. Okay. So that's something that you're just going to have to play around with. If you can't figure it out, I'll make some calls for you. Okay. And maybe your mechanic knows, wherever he is. Okay. So very simple here. This is 2-wheel drive. That's 4-wheel drive. Okay. And you heard it engage. There is no locking hubs.
Oh,
Okay.
so there's no lockers on this?
So it's just on the fly.
Sweet.
Okay.
Okay.
That's high and low, 4 high and low, right? That's your parts regen button if you had to do a parts regen. On, off, regen inhibit, on and off.
4 low need neutral?
4 low needs neutral. Yep.
So this will get stuck in 4-wheel drive because it doesn't have lockers on it. So you still get that one wheel spinning.
Yep.
So
4-wheel drive high though, you can shift on the fly. Obviously, you probably don't want to if you can help it.
Correct. Yeah.
Looks like
Yep. Yep.
I suppose it doesn't have lockers on this.
It doesn't have manual lockers.
Some of those have the air actuated lockers that'll lock them front and rear.
Oh yeah. No, yes. So yes. Let me back up. This truck is true 4-wheel drive. What I'm talking about is there's no manual lockers like on the Ford Super
So there's
Duties.
our
Yes.
lockers in the
Yes.
differential
Yes.
little. Okay, that's my question.
Yes.
So
This is a true 4x4.
okay, all right.
Yep.
So my question is so on the rear end,
Yep.
the lockers are always engaged when you're driving. So that means when you're taking a turn, you're going to get that squealing.
Yeah, you're gonna have like the pause.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that was a question. I wasn't sure. Like some other trucks have, you can disengage the lockers, so you get that
Correct.
normal.
Yep. So if this truck had that, it would have like a StabiliTrak option. Yep. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Okay. That's good to know.
Okay. So that's that. Then obviously just all your HVAC controls, your rock and roll, your mic, your brake, some auxiliary power. Okay. Cigarette lighter, and then your USB connection. Same on the officer side. All your lights again. Perimeter lights, okay, siren, horn, just put your we do or your air horn here, okay. Steam lights, again, all 12-volt power, okay, front, rear, side to side, okay. We'll get to that in a minute, and that's your high idle, okay. So you do have an electric primer too, and it's loud, okay. 1,000 gallon a minute pump, Darley pump, okay, 500 gallon water tank. Okay, so when we want to engage the pump, so listen up, this is probably important for you, okay? So when we want to engage the pump, okay, it's no longer, right, I'm just gonna go old school, right? Or what we're used to. Neutral, bright, clunk, drive, okay? That's gone, okay? Pull up on scene, okay? This goes into the neutral position. You pull the brake, and you press the button. That is it. You no touch anything else. Okay? You're done. Rock it back up. Takes the pump out of gear, right? Drive, brake, drive home.
How do you... Can you adjust the pressure in here?
Only when you're pumping and rolling, and that's through the gas pedal. So, now, here's something else I'm going to tell you that I am not 100% sure on this particular pump, but I can tell you that all the other pumps that I've done, and so I assume this is an FPA thing, 15 miles an hour you can pump and roll, 16 miles an hour it disengages the pump, and first gear you can pump and roll. When you switch to the second gear, it disengages the pump.
So is it turning like to a creeper gear, and or you just gotta like stay on the...
So if you're ever pumping and rolling on this thing, you're covering the gas pedal. You're covering the brake pedal, essentially. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no turret on this thing, right? So it's going to be like, putting out a spot fire somewhere, and you're walking next to the truck, fucking, spraying. A 1-inch line attached to the truck, 45 psi, is what idle is. That's right in the sweet spot. That's really more than you need, probably.
What are you saying about the pump and roll? I can't hear.
I'm sorry. I sort of turned my back on it.
I've never done the pump and roll.
So the way that it should be set up, I'm pretty confident in saying this because this is how all the putts are. You pump and roll. You can pump and roll up to 15 miles an hour, 16 miles an hour, it's going to disengage the pump, and first gear. So you leave first gear, go into second gear, it's going to disengage the pump.
How do you?
So ready? Pump and roll, right? We're going to have to manually open up our taped pump.
Yeah.
We're going to have to manually open up the discharges that we want to use. Okay? Truck's running, I'm parked, I'm in neutral, the brake is pulled, right? I go, whoop, pump on, push the brake in, put it in drive, now I'm pumping and rolling.
Yeah, that's your. It's like you said when I did that.
Yeah, this city, for a city fire department like you guys are, this is like third world stuff. This is not normal. Okay?
Yeah, I wish it was like a crash truck when you kick the pump on, it automatically idles up, and then you have your PTO differently, so you have...
That's not like that at all. Right? So again, the real reason why you get pump and roll is because it's a PTO pump. And again, because this is a wildland truck, if there's any application, this truck very well may have to pump and roll. Right? This is a feature that you may actually use. On the pots, it's a feature that is like almost never used. Right? So. Good on that? Good on any other buttons in the cab of the truck?
Yes.
Pretty self-explanatory? Yeah. What do you got back there? Do you have air brackets back there?
No, it's just an open seat. Yeah, I guess the seats, but it's hollowed out.
Do you gonna put brackets in it?
No, we're gonna keep them in the outside compartments.
Where that almost like SCBA looking doors?
Yep.
Right.
The pump's on here still.
All right, guys, let's go. So last thing I'm going to talk about until we head outside and mess around with that interlock and to see if the truck will actually pump and roll is going to be at the pump. Okay. So you guys probably have waterless pumps, would be my guess. Okay. This is a Darley pump. Okay. Doesn't really much matter to you. Okay. It pumps water. This is a 500-gallon water tank with a 1,000-gallon pump. Okay, so when it was at the factory, it drafted 1,002 gallons of water. Right, so understand that those pump ratings are at draft. Right, 150, 200, and 250. Okay, so like any of your other pumps, if the available water is there, you can pump over capacity. Obviously. Okay, typically these new pumps. Again, I have most of my experiences in the pots and in
the water assists. We do a little bit hail, but mostly those two. It will pump about double capacity if the water is available. So start top and work your way down to the bottom. So up here, these two lights are your panel lights, okay? Don't write this light up unless it's out when the pump is engaged. That's your pump light, okay? So panel lights off, panel lights on. You can control, watch your eyes, you can control your scene lights, left, right, and rear, right here. Your front one's controlled in the cab of the truck. Okay, pressure governor we'll get to at the end. Okay, discharge, rod, stem, and ball valve, right? Out for open, in for shut, and they all lock in place. Okay. Engine cooler is just that. Tank fill, tank pump. Okay, don't forget, if you guys keep your stuff closed like this and you don't keep them open and cracked like that, right? Just remember that as soon as you engage the pump, you better get out here and you better be flowing some water.
So that's different than any of ours. It's reversed. That one's in. You gotta read the sign on it. You gotta read the sign on the bottom. So I don't know if that's a mistake or if that's just how they did it, but in for open, out for closed. I'm not sure if that's a mistake, but that's how it came.
Okay. Good luck. Good luck not messing that up.
Exactly. The instruction is backwards.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll have to ask Andrew that.
Talk to Andy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if that's just a mistake.
Yeah. Talk to Andy about it.
But it works that way. It closes open.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good luck on that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Am I waiting for them to come back?
Yeah.
I'll keep Okay, obviously your steam report, right, with your ball intake valve. You have another auxiliary intake here, another discharge on this side, and then your drains. Okay, master drain on this is located right here. Okay, you have an intake relief valve on this truck. From the factory, it's set at 125. There is a pressure adjustment nut. Tighten it to increase the pressure, loosen it to decrease the pressure. From the factory, set at 125 unless you ask them to do it differently. Okay?
We set it for 150.
Yep, so you don't have to change it.
We already did.
Oh, you already did?
The internal one?
The internal, not
Yeah.
not the factory.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, so the internal one's set at 1.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. We'll have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, so I'll show you with a pressure adjustment now. You're just gonna have to have water to the valve.
Okay.
Right? And you just increase it until you see it dump at 151. Yeah. Okay. Questions so far? Okay. Electric primer. It's loud. Okay. It takes a lot of power. Okay. You got one here and you got one inside the cab of the truck. Questions on the primer? All right, pressure governor. You guys have pressure governors on your other trucks, I presume? Same exact one. Okay, I'm just going to do like a 10-minute review on the pressure governor, if that's okay with you guys. Okay, so this is what this is Pump Boss Pierce pressure governor. Oftentimes, people still to this day confuse relief valves and governors. They use those terms synonymously, okay? They think that if you're in RPM mode, you essentially are running the old pressure relief valves. That could not be further from the truth, okay? So a relief valve, right, is a mechanical or pneumatic. You guys have mechanical relief valves, right? The spring, right, has an adjustment, tight or loose, right? When you hit 1 pound over what that spring is set to, it dumps the water, right? It relieves the water, right? Waters will blow it on the ground, hails will put it back in the pump, back in the tank. Okay. So you do have relief valves, but they're on the intake side of the pump. Relief valve here on your Jaffrey valve or your ball intake valve, and then you have one on the actual main pump. Okay. A pressure governor is not a manual relief valve. It is a pressure governor. And a pressure governor, by definition, is a pressure transducer that regulates PSI utilizing RPMs.
Okay, so pressure governor is a pressure transducer on the discharge side of the pump that regulates PSI utilizing RPMs. So if you think about that for a minute, it sounds similar to the cruise control in your own personal vehicle, right? And it is, okay? So when I engage the pump on these pump bosses, it always defaults to pressure mode, which I like, okay? So let's say, for instance, I want to run this number one speed leg at, oh, just say 150 pounds, okay? So dial that up to 150, open the valve all the way up. Whatever RPMs it takes to make 150 pounds of engine pressure and whatever gallons a minute out of that line, it's going to be at, okay? No different than me getting back to my truck, heading back home. I'm on the interstate on a flat road at 70 miles an hour. I set the cruise control to my truck. It's going to hold or be at whatever RPMs it needs to be at to move the truck down the road, okay? Now, I'm driving down the road 70 miles an hour. I then approach an incline. What happens to the RPMs of my truck to hold 70 miles an hour? They go up, right? That would be the same thing as me running this at 150. Now I want to run, we'll just say this at 150, open the valve all the way up, got 150, 150. I did nothing except open the valve. The pressure governor automatically increased RPMs to sustain that increase of GPMs that I asked the pump to fulfill for me. Okay, I did nothing else. Didn't touch the throttle, I just opened the valve. Okay? We're not doing good anymore.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, they're just banging out the bots.
That's why I was saying box.
Yeah. Okay, so same analogy. I'm driving down the road 70 miles an hour. I approach a decline, right? I'm ascending a hill, right? RPMs fall off because I have the momentum of the hill, right, to hold 70 miles an hour. This is no different. If I'm running this at 150, this at 150, now I got a feeder line from a hydrant into my ball intake valve. I did 100, let's say I did 110 pounds of static water pressure. I open the valve up, now I did 110 pounds of residual water pressure. The RPMs are gonna what? Drop off, and it's gonna hold 150, right? I did nothing except just open the intake valve, okay? That's how pressure governors work. If I'm driving down that road at 70 miles an hour and I approach a really steep decline, right, and the RPMs and the motor can't hold me back, I'm gonna have to apply the brake, right? So there's only one circumstance in this particular situation where you have to intervene with a pressure governor, okay? So let's just say for ease of conversation, I'm running this number one discharge at 80 pounds, okay? Let's say it's a 2.5. I'm running it at 80 pounds. I'm running out of my tank, right? I get a feeder line hooked from a hydrant into my truck. This now is at 110, so I got 110 pounds of residual, and I want 80 pounds of discharge pressure, okay? I open this all the way up. What's my RPMs going to be at? Idle, right? What's the poor guy or gal on the 2.5 going to get? 110 a ride. So you're going to be on a magic carpet ride. And it may not be so magical. Okay? So this, $500,000, $600,000 fire pump is now a $500,000 manifold. Okay? So how do we fix that problem? Okay. So if I gate this back till it says 80, what's this still read? What's this still read? Idle. Okay? So the next pressure surge that you get, or pressure loss, right? The person on the 2.5 is going to feel it. Okay? So that's just a temporary fix. That's a Band-Aid to the problem. Okay? So if you read the manual, it'll tell you to always have a 30% difference between intake and discharge pressure. I'm too stupid to figure that out, so I just get close, right? So as you start opening this up, when am I going to hit idle? 80 pounds. 80 pounds, I'm going to be at idle, right? So as I open this up, I hit 80 pounds, I'm at idle, I go, oh shit, I get too much water that's going to come in, right? So now you gate this back down till it says about 50 or 60, RPMs will go back up again. Now you have the protection of the pressure governor, okay? Pressure governor is a pressure transducer on the discharge side of the pump that regulates PSI utilizing RPMs. At idle, you have no RPMs. If you have no RPMs, you have no pressure governor. Make sense? So you can do it that way, or you can actually do it another way. You can open this all the way up. You can gate this back down to about 50 or
60 and manually make RPMs. Whatever one you want to do, I find the other way easier. Okay? Made sense? Questions on that? All right, so when to be in pressure mode? When? No, when to be in pressure mode. I'm like,
Video, that was Rick Gordon. I'm retiring tomorrow. Edit that.
so, yeah. Is there going to be bloopers? So when to be in PSI mode? Whenever you have a staffed hand line, that's what I always tell people. Whether it's offensive, defensive, or you're just out training, you got somebody at the business end of that nozzle, you want to be in PSI mode, okay? When to be in RPM mode? Inline pumping, right? Relay pumping, drafting, absolutely drafting. You cannot pull a draft in pressure mode because in pressure mode, this pressure governor has a bunch of safety features. No water, low water, RPM limit, running away from water, all kinds of FO8 codes, 9, 11, 10, 11, 12 codes, right? If it feels as though that it's pulling a vacuum, that feels like cavitation. That feels and tells this pump that you have no water available and it's not going to allow you to do it, okay? If you would like, I can spend time going over all the safety features on this pressure governor. Typically, people give me that look right there, and they say, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, but I want to direct you to some material so you can learn it at your own leisure. So go to YouTube, okay, and type in Pierce pressure governor. You're going to see Pierce's actual pressure governor. Doesn't matter, all the safety features are the same. It'll walk you through what all of those safety features do, okay? If at the end of the class, 1, 2, or 3, however many of you want me to go over all that stuff, I'd be glad to do it, okay? But that's typically when I start losing the audience, okay? So yeah, drafting, relay pumping, standpipe operations, high-rise operations, those are the times you want to be in RPM mode. All other times, you've got staffed hand lines, PSI mode, no questions asked, okay? All right, so this particular pressure governor, left is decrease, right is increase. This is not a Vernio cable throttle, right, where it's the opposite way. This red button is not an emergency button like on the Vernio cable throttles where you smash it, right? You only do that in emergency. That's just your idle button. You can be at max governed speed, which is probably 2,400 RPMs, 2370, and you can press idle. It's not going to fall on its face. It's going to ramp down the way that it should, okay? If you hit the idle button, just remember, whatever you told the pressure governor to store for data, it's going to wipe it out. You're going to have to, reset whatever you want for PSI. Okay. This particular pressure governor will monitor 4 different things: oil pressure, engine temp, pump temp, and voltage. If it gets to a critical level, whether that be too hot, not enough, whatever, right? It's going to flash red, and it's going to give you an audible alarm. You can silence the audible alarm, which is what that silence button's for. You cannot get rid of the visual display. Presets on these particular pump bosses from the factory defaulted. In PSI mode, it's set to 125. In RPM mode, it's set to 1,000 RPMs. If you do not like those, I can change them for you, okay? If you want to do that today, I can change that for you today. If you want to do it later on, have somebody, like a chief officer or somebody with rank, call me and I'll walk them through. I made the mistake years ago telling everybody how to do it, and that was not a good idea. Okay? So we can do it now, we can do it later, or we can never do it. It's totally up to you. Okay? Lastly, menu mode. We'll toggle through some information. One of the things you probably want to obtain out of this is your pump hours. That's located right there, and that's how you get to that. Okay? Questions on the pressure governor? Sir? Or pressure on anything?
Notice there's no discharge pressure gauges anywhere. Is there anything on that pump boss to show what the discharge pressure is on the individual outlets, or are we just kind of...
That's a good question.
Because there is a lack of...
Yeah, where's the pressure gauge on this?
There's none of them.
Yeah.
There's 0 discharge pressure on the side of the truck.
Yeah.
I'm just an apparatus trainer.
So to add to that,
Yeah.
all the discharges that are on this and the officer side of the pump, obviously they're
gonna have to keep the pump dry all the time. At least in the winter. In the summer, who cares? But
No, manifold.
that's just manifold off the pump.
So that just bleeds the pressure on the pump.
So Ref's got to shut the tank off and just
Keep it dry in the winter.
Yeah, it's a massive drain. And they drain all your studs.
You're gonna have to open up all your valves and drain them all down.
There's a light on the wall right there too. Just push that one.
You have to get up in there to open those up.
So the biggest thing is
It's just easier to keep it dry.
the thing we got to figure out is discharge pressure gauge.
Well, honestly, I mean, was the firefighting people going inside?
That's going to be an issue.
I would only run, if you're running a big line, then you run one discharge. If you're running multiple reconnects, you only run it each quarters, you gotta kind of, because otherwise you're gonna take the guy's last one, 2.5, if you're trying to run each quarter. So you either gotta run just into 2 quarters, or you gotta run 2. And I mean, hopefully you have another truck that quick, but
If you're running attack lines, whatever you guys choose, it's going to be at the same time.
exactly, it's the only real way to do it, because otherwise you're gonna be.
Other than that, you put a gate valve on it and you just yes.
We run all 4 anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. You're good? It makes it really easy. But at that point, you know, yeah.
Bulky, as far as your discharge, you're just gonna have to go off your biggest line and just go old school. Not too much.
What I'm saying is,
gate back.
you're running one line. This is going to be the only truck on scene. Well, the thing is, you just either run all 3 quarters or you run 2.5. Right. Because I mean, you're going to have an account, so you're going to be using this to go anyway. So you're running the 145 on it, and you leave it.
I mean, the odds of this will be pressure mode.
Well, that's the thing is, if we're running a storm, yeah, this may be initial, but whatever truck shows it next is going to be my initial attack line. So I guess they were looking at it like during like storms, like blizzards and shit on it. And they, if
Backstab the ladder.
in the, you know, we've had fires in the blizzard before. Where it just
You got to make straw coverage or something.
We got no LDH on it though, so you can take a hydro one with short snakes on it.
yeah,
Well, we got 2.5. We could lay dual 2.5.
It's going to be more so, we have, this station has an engine and a ladder, so one guy will jump off the engine, most likely grab this, take it.
So this is going to be like call dependent.
This is gonna be
yeah, it's not a primary.
Oh, this is the same.
How long was it?
20 years ago, 20 years ago.
750 back in the day. Right. So
I mean, 1,000 gallon minute pump.
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think you got to remember, even in the summertime, drain everything, drain the pump. Just so when it comes to the wintertime, you're in the mode of, I mean, drain.
Yes and no. I mean, we could.
You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, and we can, you know, that's certainly could.
We would make changes to it. If you wanted one, it would have been 2 years from now.
You want to try that pump and roll? Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, let's use this thing.
Any other questions before we go outside?
I'm going to go over, put in the trucking pump, the interlocks, pump and roll. I'm going to go over that one more time for you guys, and so it's on video. Okay? Hey, what's up? Okay, so to put this trucking pump gear, right? Transmission in neutral, brake pulled, press the PTO pump button. Okay, press it once, up for on, blue light will come on. Okay, when that truck is in pump gear, you're okay, the pump light's gonna come on, right? You're gonna be making pressure. The power, the gas pedal is still, the power is still in the gas pedal in neutral if the pump is not engaged. As soon as you turn the pump on and the transmission position is still in neutral, then the throttle, right, leaves the gas pedal and it enters into your pump control module. Okay? If the brake is pulled, the truck is in pump gear, and you put the transmission from neutral into drive by accident, you disembark the truck, right? You should be chalked and all that stuff, right? You come out to the truck and you try to increase pump pressure, it's not going to allow you because that's the interlock, okay? The other thing that you will notice is you will automatically get taken out of pressure mode and put into RPM mode, okay? So that should be another light bulb that comes on in your head. Following me so far? Okay. If you want to actually pump and roll, right, the pump has to be open. Discharge or discharges need to be open, right? Engage the pump, put it in drive, push the parking brake in, okay? This light's gonna turn off. This is gonna be dead, and your pump pressure is gonna be based off of the RPMs on your throttle pedal. 15 miles an hour, you can use it, and in first gear, you can use it. 16 miles an hour or gear number 2, pump disengages. Okay, made sense? Any questions on that? Pretty simple, it's just gonna be getting used to it. Okay. The other thing I want to make clear to everybody is I don't know if anybody heard. Okay. This is very different. Okay. In is actually open. Okay. This is shut. Okay. So that's going to take some getting used to. Okay. And it says it right here for reference. Okay. So right now we're shut. Right now everything is shut.
Now I notice
right now everything's open.
They stay open about 1.5 inches, but they are closed. Unlike our other fleet, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Don't try to hammer it. Don't try hammering it because you think it's open a little bit, but it's not. So.
Right, like this is shut.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
One of the issues we've been having with the other pumpers is, you know, obviously in the winter and stuff, we leave the tank open.
Yeah.
And, you know, we leave the discharge a little so that in the cab you put it, engage the pump, it circulates the water.
Yeah, your tank fill, you mean? Is that what you're saying? Yep, yep.
Yeah, tank fill.
Yep.
So what we've noticed with the new ones, with the pressure, the
pressure governors,
was somewhere along the line through, because we trained down, was the tank to pump was open just a little, and it tricks the pressure governor into throttling down the engine. So we were having some issues where they would go to a call, charge 1 3/4 inch line, the tank to pump wasn't open all the way. It was only open a little, and it would cause the pump to throttle right down. We used Perkins Pump. Andy Byron came in, so we called him in because it happened like 3 times with one group. And on the phone he says, that's because your tank...
your tank pump's not all the way open.
All the way open. So we came down, we took the individual, no one's fault, and said, hey, what did you do on these calls?
Yeah.
Sure enough, he only had it open like 1/4 half because that's kind of... So just kind of for everybody here, we're trying to get everybody up to speed is always always open your tank. Am I correct in that?
So let's pretend like this is one of your normal engines, right, where this is open, okay? When you're running out of the tank, okay, don't forget it's a 3 to 4 inch pipe, okay, that is coming from your water tank into your tank to pump, which is why you can only get 5 to 550 gallons a minute out of your tank, right? So if I close this, I am now essentially choking it out. So if you're trying to pump a fire like this, what the chief is saying, what's going to happen is the truck is entering into cavitation because it's not getting enough water. So it's hitting a safety feature, which is called low pressure or low water. That occurs when you have low water or low pressure, depending on the pressure governor. It uses a couple different lingos, okay? Means that you have discharge pressure from 15 to 44 pounds. 14 to 0 is no water, okay? So it thinks the truck is cavitating because it essentially is, and it's ramping down your RPMs. And what you'll find is it will ramp it up, ramp it down, ramp it up, ramp it down, ramp it up, ramp it down 3 times until you either lower your expectations or you figure it out, okay? That's a safety feature doing that. Not allowing the truck to cavitate. Whenever you're running out of the tank, your tank to pump has to be all the way open. So you get all the water into your pump from your water tank. Okay? And you can go over some of those safety features by going out pumping, running out of your tank, and you're manually choking the pump out. And you'll watch it. It'll hit RPM limit, low water. RPM limit, no water, then it'll go beep, 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 and it'll kick you out, and will go to idle, so you don't burn the pump up. Yep. Any other questions? All right, let's go back inside. You have to
We'll have to go through that, yeah.
I know. Anyone else want a business card?
Yep.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I'm going to go over the cab controls for a couple other people. Other than that, if you guys have no questions, that's it. That's the Dog and Pony Show. Any questions, give me a call, send me a text. Be more than happy to help you out as best as I can.
Thank you. I just, before everybody leaves, yesterday's office meeting, Tuesday's officers meeting, and kind of talked about what this truck was bought for and used for, so we can kind of cover that here too. So we applied for a grant. It's called the Brush Grant. So we got $250,000. City had to match 25, so we got like $225. And we asked the city to purchase this type of truck. It ended up coming in a little under $400,000. We use the term brush truck, but this is a lot more than our standard pickup truck, brush truck. So what we wanted to do with it is make it an all-purpose truck that will be used a lot. So it's going to carry the formal ladder one set of extrication tools on it. It's got a full setup of the Tech Rescue ropes on it. It's got structure. It's got SCBAs. It's got water suits, swift water suits. We're going to put the ice water suit on it. So this essentially is a second piece to a ladder truck or a second piece to an engine, besides being a brush truck. So the idea is to use this truck. Don't be afraid not to take it on calls with you. If, you know, either at the beginning of an incident or if the deputy wants it brought to the incident, for all those type of purposes. It's not to sit there and just be strictly for, you know, brush. You know, it's a recall truck. Once we get settled, if the truck is being serviced for the day and the crew wanted to, you know, use this, it has everything to do it. The difference for us is the hydrant lines. There wasn't enough room to put 4-inch hose on this. I think we calculated you only get a 4-inch. So we did two 700-foot attack lines off the rear. So we'll have all of the double females and double males so that you can either use it as a attack line or you could lay a hydrant line. And it's set up to lay 2 hydrant lines of 700 feet. So, which would give you 500 gallons plus of water to the fire scene off of our normal hydrant calculated in the friction loss and all of that. So bottom line is, it's an awesome piece of equipment that please use it. Don't be afraid, lieutenants, deputies, to take it on calls and utilize it. That's it. Thank you, Ronnie, for videoing this, and appreciate it.
Yeah. Don't forget, if you need somebody to do this full-time, I'm available.
All right. This is Ronnie Gerard. He's just joined emergency management, correct?
Yes, this past month.
Yeah, but he's Leominster. He loves the history. He does the Leominster.
I'm a member of the Lombard Station, Leominster Historical Society, and I'm also a member of the Leominster Historical Commission, because I keep myself quite active in the community.
And if we did something stupid at a fire, Ronnie